I need you to make place, phrase on, for this in your spirit. What I see in this text is problematic and promising at the same time. Y'all, Peter gets out of prison. And watch this. The Bible says in verse number 12, when he realized, verse 11 says, Peter finally came to his senses. And really, it's really true. He said, the Lord has sent his angels and saved me from Herod and from what the Jewish leaders had planned to do to me. I got to get this on the way to verse 12 because it's just waving at me. Aren't you glad that the stuff that folk planned to do to you, they couldn't do it because God blocked it? Y'all, it's some folk that had plans to harm you. It's some folk that had plans to tear down your character. It's some folk that had plans to tear down your reputation. But you are alive today, and it shows that no weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every lying tongue you condemn. Guess what? The weapon didn't work. It didn't prosper. He says, verse 12, that was just waving at me. I had to grab it. Verse 12, when you realize this, y'all, so he goes to the home of Mary, the mother of John Mark. So remember I shared with y'all in verse number 5, the church was praying for Peter. So he goes to the place where they praying for him. Must have been a nice crib because the Bible says he didn't knock at the door, he knocked at the gate. Had to be a big, Jamila, it had to be a big crib. It wasn't the door, it was the gate. So Peter comes to the crib where they're praying, and he wants to let them know, Edwin, your boy is out. He knock on the door. There is this servant girl by the name of Rhoda who opens the door. Not opens the door. She hears Peter, and she recognized his voice. Verse 14 says, when she recognized Peter's voice, she was so overjoyed that she didn't open the door. She ran back to the folk that was praying for him, and she said, Peter is at the door. Sister Bonnie Fox, she goes back to tell the people that's been praying for Peter's deliverance, Peter is out. And when she tells them, the Bible says they tell her, you crazy. In other words, you out of your mind. Hold up. You mean to tell me, Bro Oscar McGee, we've been praying for Peter to get out. Peter is out, and he's at the door, and you don't even recognize that your prayer has been answered. Preach, Jackson. It's some stuff in your life you've been praying to God about, and you don't even know that God already answered your prayer. You praying about stuff God answered 10 years ago. You praying about stuff. You praying about stuff you prayed about 5 years ago. I'm waiting on God. Really? I think He's waiting on you. Curtis, man, the answer is at the door. Now, I'm getting ready to go deep diving in the text. Because my question becomes, why they didn't believe Rhoda? Now, the text does not indicate, so I'm eisegeting the text, meaning I'm using my spiritual imagination. Rhoda, number one, is a girl. Number two, Rhoda is young, because the text says she was a girl. Number three, the Bible says she's a servant or she's a slave, which which lets me know that oftentimes God will send your answer or he will test your faith through people or voices you don't respect. Could it be that your answer, God has sent you the answer to your prayer, but because of how the person is, how they look, their background, their age, you dismiss them? So Rhoda was right. They tell a girl, you crazy, you lost your mind. Which, for me, Minister Carlonda, I think this text helps. It really helps us to understand what voices are you listening to? So they listening all the spiritual people in the house praying. But obviously they don't know when God answers. But Rhoda knows and they dismiss her voice. I want you to be very careful of what voices you accept as gospel or truth into your life. Because maybe the voices that you are rejecting are the voices that's trying to help your behind out. Okay, y'all. I got to grab a little something else in here. It says, you out of your mind, they said, when she insisted. Then they said, well, it couldn't have been Peter. My first question is, if she said the answer was at the door, why they just didn't go check? And see, y'all, next week, we're going to be doing prayer and fasting, and I don't want you to be in a place where you praying to God, but you don't believe what you pray for. Because I want to submit to you, your issue is not your ability to pray. Your issue is your expectation. Why are you so small? Why can't God do exceedingly abundantly? You trying to work for the business. God wants you to own the business. Why you can't think bigger? God is trying to give you something amazing, and you want to settle for something small. I speak against that demonic spirit that would even make you think God can't work. I don't care how bad it is. You better leave here knowing God is able. And if God is able, God can work this thing. God can move swiftly. God can move suddenly. God can move quickly. God can change hearts. God can change minds. God can open up doors. God can close doors. We serve a God. He's a God of a breakthrough. But Ashley, they don't go to the door. They said it must have been Peter's angel. So now they're giving excuses for not being able to hear God. First off, I want to deal with this. If it was an angel, y'all, because I want to help you biblically, because sometimes, y'all, we don't read this Bible enough. Like they were so spiritual, Ava, they were so spiritual, they ain't know God. They miss God. Because they said, wait a minute, y'all. It ain't Peter, but it's his angel. Just so you know, the pictures of what you see on TV, you know, the little angels, the little white babies with the wings. No, I'm just saying that's what they show y'all, and y'all believe like angels look like little white babies with wings. No, sir. I don't have time to do a Bible study. That's why y'all need to show up on Thursday so I can teach you something. I don't got time to do all that with you. But I will say this. You look at the description of an angel in the Bible, they are scary. Why every time the angels show up, fear not? Y'all, I mean, I make sense, right? Why, if they ain't scary or they ain't powerful, why are people scared every time they show up? So you mean to tell me the angel don't got enough power to walk through the wall? So once again, they make excuses, phrase on, for not believing God, which lets me know. I said it was problematic and promising, Dr. Hinton, at the same time. Because this text shows us, Sister Matthews, Sister Reddy, this text shows us that God answers our prayers. Not all the times because of our faith, because it's evident they ain't have faith. But God will answer our prayers because we serve a faithful God. That somehow, some way, when I begin to lift up my prayers to God, even sometimes if I don't believe as I should, somehow, some way, God is still able to answer my prayer. So, y'all, it's so much other stuff in here. I got to give you two more things, though. Y'all, he knocking. This is a lesson for you. Shaquita, he knocking. Bible says in verse 16, he kept knocking. In other words, no, there's something on the other side. So I'm not just going to knock one time and bounce. I'm going to keep knocking. You ever experienced maybe somebody's in the house and you left your keys and you beating on the door? Some of you maybe know about that police knock. Y'all know how y'all, he kept knocking until they opened the door. I want to preach to you today that it doesn't matter if the door didn't open the first time you knocked. But keep on knocking until you see the results. Keep on knocking until you experience God's power.